First off, President Bola Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency in a personally signed statement ordering additional recruitment into the armed forces.
As part of response to escalating security threats, the police and army are authorized to enlist more personnel, with the police to recruit 20,000 officers, raising their intake to 50,000. The president, in a statement, also approved using NYSC camps as temporary training depot and directed that officers withdrawn from VIP duties undergo crash retraining before deployment to security-challenged areas. He also directed the DSS to immediately deploy trained forest guards and recruit more men to flush out terrorists and bandits, saying there will be no more hiding places for agents of evil. The president praised security agencies for rescuing 24 schoolgirls in Kebbi and 38 worshippers in Kwara, reaffirming efforts to free students still held in Niger State and other hostages. President Tinubu urged the National Assembly to review laws to allow states that require state police to establish them. He also called on states to rethink boarding schools in remote areas and advised mosques and churches in vulnerable communities to seek regular police protection. On herder-farmer clashes, he urged herder associations to end open grazing, surrender illegal weapons, and adopt ranching under the new livestock ministry. President Tinubu sympathized with families of victims of recent attacks in Kebbi, Borno, Zamfara, Niger, Yobe, and Kwara states and paid tribute to fallen soldiers, including Brigadier General Musa Uba. He warned that those testing the government's resolve should not mistake restraint for weakness, insisting his administration has the determination to keep Nigeria safe. He urged Nigerians to remain calm, vigilant, and united.
The security challenge in Nigeria was the major concern at the National Assembly, dominating discussions as lawmakers expressed growing alarm over escalating attacks, rising insecurity, and the urgent need for a coordinated national response. The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to stop negotiating with bandits and criminals with allegations that Boko Haram terrorists are infiltrating Nigeria's security agencies, particularly the army and the police.
As I'm speaking to you, within the armed forces, I once spoke here, I lost one of the most gallant Nigerian soldiers, my cousin, Colonel Bako, in the course of this. I lost my younger brother, same mother, in Bama. And today I will say, without missing words, that even as we try to solve issues, the vigilantes and those who volunteered, just 2 weeks ago, I lost my nephew. So I know what it means, and I speak with pains.
What has happened in this country is an abject lack of courage. Every president since 1999 till today has demonstrated an embarrassing lack of courage to deal with an issue that has festered. We are appeasing terrorists. We are placating them. They are engaged in negotiation. You can't appease your way out of terrorism.
Security we face today is not just Boko Haram, but people within us. Mr. Speaker, the boogeyman insecurity has visited each and every one of us in this chamber. No one has been spared in the country, Mr. Speaker. The time for cosmetic approach is over. The time for political approach to insecurity in Nigeria cannot secure and stop the insecurity we face today.
The leadership should also interface with the executive to ensure that some of these resolutions, including past ones, are implemented. If they are implemented in a holistic way, in a structured way, and not the knee-jerk approach we are adopting to insecurity in this country.
We need a security situation where our security operatives will be communicado.
where Nigerians can call any security operative at any hour of the day, and they are sure to get the right response. And of course, an interactive one at that. When we have that, that is where we have the right policing. In normal climes, you find out that citizens police themselves. When you see something, you say something, you act and you do something.
And the Nigerian Senate on Wednesday blew hot as lawmakers engaged in a no-holds-barred debate on the rising spate of insecurity in Nigeria, calling for immediate probe into the killing of a brigadier general stationed in the theatre of war in Borno State by insurgents. The Senate also wants to know who ordered the withdrawal of soldiers minutes before the abduction of 24 schoolgirls in Kebbi, even as it descended heavily on kidnapping and banditry, classifying both as terrorist acts and backing such acts with a maximum death penalty for offenders.
And killed at least.
And these people are there sending messages, sending clips on social media, making our country a laughingstock.
Disturbed that intelligence reports revealed the involvement of internal collaborators, often driven by economic and political desperation.
Those who are into this heinous crime do not love our country. They don't love our country. So they want to propel that intention of the United States.
We are being told that, oh, you shouldn't talk about the past. You should focus on the present. Yet, on this floor, rather than focus on what we're supposed to talk about, we go back to say, oh, during 2015, oh, the Chibok girls happened, and oh, we are now rescuing people. People were not rescued at that time. During Chibok, 17 local governments in Katsina we are not having parleys with bandits.
We know who these bandits are. We know where they are. We know what they want. What is left for us to conclude? If we are going to do negotiation, do it and finish it. If we are going to fight, we'll fight it to the finish.
We as the Senate must identify and communicate to the people that elected us to be their voice. That part of the report that states that military personnel were withdrawn from that school in Kebbi. We must identify who gave the command and why.
Even as I speak now, we are still facing the attacks. This is orchestrated, this is organized, and this is meant to damage the image of democracy. And all these things started with just a tweet from President Trump. The penalty for kidnapping should be changed immediately to carry the maximum punishment of death.
Well, Kebbi State is celebrating a moment of immense relief as all 24 schoolgirls abducted from the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, MAGA, have been safely reunited with their families. The emotional homecoming unfolded at Government House in Birnin, Kebbi. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshimoge reports.
My name is Hawa Oloi from JSS 2A.
All 24 abducted students are now safely back, seated alongside their parents, who have endured days of fear and uncertainty. At the ceremony, Kebbi State Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Halima Bande, assures the gathering, which has 3 former Kebbi State governors, that the girls were not violated during captivity.
I have had a discussion with these children and we took them for medical evaluation. I am happy to inform you that they were not violated.
Governor Nasir Idris pledges secured transportation to return the girls and their families to MAGA.
Government will make the required arrangements, security arrangement for your own traveling back home. Thank our leader, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Tinubu, for giving directives to the Minister of State Defense to relocate to Kebbi, and the NSA office.
Earlier, the First Lady, Zainab Idris, urged parents to remain confident in sending their children to school.
I urge the parents of the children not to be discouraged by the recent events and decide to stop their education.
Parents, including Ilyasu Garba, who had 4 daughters among those abducted, expressed deep gratitude. He said he was very sad after the abduction of his 4 daughters, but he instead took consolation from understanding that the governor and the president are working round the clock to ensure the safe return of the girls. And that eventually happened.
I cannot explain how grateful we are to the president and the governor of Kebbi State over their efforts, and the Minister of Defense State that was deployed here to see, and also the NSA, to the president. We are so grateful to Nigerians with their prayers, the churches, the mosques, everywhere there was prayer. That's why it didn't last 10 days. We're happy and we're grateful to Nigerians for all their prayers.
The safe return of the Kebbi schoolgirls marks a profound moment of relief and healing for the community.
Following the safe return of the 24 abducted school children, it is celebration in Kebbi State. The government and people are highly elated by this development. But beyond this is the underlying question on safety of Nigerian schools. What measures will be put in place to prevent a reoccurrence of these incidents? From the Kebbi State Government House, Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
Thank you very much, Godfrey, for your excellent reporting throughout the period of this abduction and then release. Well, Nigeria's insecurity is moving southward. From kidnapping, farmer-header clashes and religious violence, no longer can these be the problem of northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt alone. That's why the 2nd annual Southern Governors Forum is happening at the right time, taking place in Ikperu, Ogun State, under the leadership of Chairman and Governor Dapo Abiodun. This year's edition includes the Southern Nigerian Traditional Rulers Council for a multifaceted approach to keeping Southern Nigeria safe. Joint funds, intelligence sharing, and identity management were also listed as action points, as Arise News international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya reports.
The time is now for action on security. The Southern Governors Forum came together for its 2nd such meeting, this time in Ikperu, Ogun State, at the home of State Governor and Chairman of the Southern Governors Forum, Prince Dapo Abiodun.
It is with great pleasure and a profound sense of responsibility that I welcome my brother governors from the Southeast, the South-South, and the Southwest. Southern Nigeria now stands at a pivotal moment, marked by rising threats to security, economic pressures, and the urgent need for coordinated leadership.
It was a high-stakes gathering as insecurity across Nigeria continues to dominate national concern. The governors and traditional rulers from the 17 southern states arrived with a united brief to push for stronger regional cooperation, tighter border control, and urgent reforms to policing. With kidnappings, banditry, and oil-related crimes surging, the forum is expected to press Abuja for more operational autonomy.
I think it's a very commendable effort. It's an indication that everybody has taken the issue of security very serious. Traditional rulers, and everybody, people at the grassroots, community members, and that's how security is in other parts of the world.
There were 2 closed-door sessions, one with the governors and the other with traditional rulers. both focused on harmonizing security strategies across state lines, sharing intelligence and strengthening the Amotekun Corps in the southwest, alongside parallel mechanisms in the south-south and southeast.
The southern Nigeria has diversity. We have over 200 ethnic dialects, yet we're coming together. We left that. We decided to all of us come together and form one big formidable family to challenge this thing headlong.
I believe we had a very fruitful meeting, and the insecurity was thought to be a northern issue. But now we all know that it's moving down towards us, as you said. And if we don't address it, one day it's going to consume all of us. But now that we are looking into it, there's much awareness.
Member states
joint funds, intelligence sharing and decentralized police were listed in the well-anticipated communique.
To implement a unified state resident identification system.
You heard us talking about involving royal majesties and highnesses in participating in security councils and actually giving them a responsibility, because they are the closest to the grassroots. They are well respected. We are now going to, on a state-by-state basis, invest in a security fund. And we also decided that we will continue to encourage all our other non-state security outfits like our hunters, who have been very, very helpful. I mean, we have over 80 traditional rulers here, including paramount rulers from every zone. We had 17 governors here on a weekday to underscore the importance of this conversation.
As the gathering ends, the work begins across state government and traditional kingdom lines to build a united southern security architecture, one capable of responding faster than federal structures have allowed. With the release of the communique, the governors and traditional rulers here insist this forum must mark a turning point. That's as communities across the South demand action and not promises in order to restore safety and confidence. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Ikperu, here in Ogun State.
All right, all hands on deck to tackle insecurity in Nigeria, with the president himself leading this charge, declaring a national security emergency across the nation. Vimba, your take on these stories around insecurity, security efforts to ensure that Nigerians feel safe and secure.
All right. Well, I think we have to begin by praising the president for, finally assuming the body language that many people have been hoping to see from him. The term righteous anger comes to mind, and I think that he has made the right decision, the right moves, and he has instituted for some of the right actions to be taken. So I think he should be commended for his role as a statesman in this moment. But what does it reveal to us? It reveals the importance of political will, because if the president himself takes the correct position, then suddenly we see that the National Assembly can come into action and speak freely and speak truth to power. I commend the House of Reps because they started their deliberations prior to the decisions that were made by the president, and even the Senate proceedings also took place, before that official statement from the president came out. But I'm sure the memo had been dispersed. I'm sure the word had gotten out to them. And so we're now seeing discourse that is not bordering on party lines. We're seeing discourse about how can we find real solutions. And I think that was a refreshing moment for all of us. But now let's dissect the issues. When all of this became more heated, the conversation was that there are two issues here: the lack of political will and weak institutions. Okay, let's now argue that political will is being moved in the correct direction. Where are the institutions? The institution I want to focus on, amongst others, but because of time, is the Office of the Governor. We just took that report from the South governors, who again are also being proactive. You hear that Ondo State have said they are looking for new strategies for Amotekun. You hear in the South, the Cross River State government have made some restrictions on movements, on herders and open grazing, and those are steps in the right direction. But we need to go beyond this. So what do we need to do? Beyond this, we also need to ask ourselves, what are the governors doing with their security votes? Security votes have long been one of the most opaque, confusing budgetary allocations that goes to each of these state governors, and we never know what happens to it. And we now ask ourselves, in this instance, where several governors are behaving as though they are helpless and, they are looking for divine help from somewhere, but they have the power and they're constitutionally granted the resources every single month to make an impact. So governors from a state level, subnational level now need to start looking for solutions and now need to start seeing how to deal with the peculiarities of each of their own states. Because again, this is not a copy and paste solution that's going to work here. Each state is going to have to take a look at what they need to do differently or what they need to correct within their structure. Some states will be able to lean on traditional rulers. Not all states will be able to do that. So those are some of the conversations that need to have there. Now, the next conversation is with regards to open grazing. The federal government have taken the position that they have not put a national ban on open grazing, saying that this duty belongs to the individual states. Now, the debate here is, should it be a state responsibility or a federal responsibility? Because the argument is that if one state goes in a different direction to another, are we not unintentionally creating an influx of herders to become a burden in another state? Secondly, we saw that the MPC was held 2 days ago. At the MPC, the interest rates were held by Yemi Cardoso. This was in connection with our inflation stabilizing and so forth. Now, governors, what are you doing to ensure that the routes from the farms to the markets are protected? Because we are hearing reports of increased attacks on farmers. Just yesterday, the DSS paraded some gentlemen who were said to have attacked farms and so forth. So this could lead to a spike in food prices, as we had seen last year. We've dealt with insecurity-fueled food inflation for a period of time. And if we are not careful, we might see a resurgence in that. But the governors have the duty to ensure that the farms, the farm areas, and the routes to the farms, to the markets themselves are protected. And in closing, I'm looking forward to the discourse on state police legislation as directed by the President to the National Assembly, although it's unfortunate that it takes a presidential directive for the National Assembly to take up the duty they are supposed to have taken up with regards to state police.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Dr. Bati.
Okay, let me take these specific issues one by one. The President has now declared a national emergency on the security situation in the country. Some people will say this should have been done long before now, but better late than never. He had told the police to recruit 30,000 policemen. Now he has added an additional 20,000. He now says recruit up to about 50,000. And the policemen who have been doing back-carrying duties for the wives of VIPs should be recalled and be trained and retrained and debriefed. That was the word that he used. Thirdly, we see also that forest guards have now been reactivated. The President says the Department of State Services should get forest guards right into the forest to secure our forests, 1,109 forests in Nigeria. The original plan was to recruit up to about 130,000 forest guards to man those 1,109 forests. And the plan was to have a pilot phase in 7 states. And sometime early November, there was some talk about recruitment, but now it's definite. The President has given the directive. It is now for the relevant agencies to follow the President's order. In the case of the forest guards, I thought what we were told originally is that the Nigerian Hunter and Forest Guard Service, as it is now known, will report to the office of the NSA. But now the President says the DSS. Well, there may be some need in terms of the authority command in that regard. Now the police, in responding to the President yesterday, met the Nigerian Police Force and the Police Service Commission. And they established, on the directives of the chairman of the Police Service Commission, DIG retired Agungu, what they called a joint ad hoc committee to operationalize the directive from the president. And it was good to see that this meeting held at the police headquarters yesterday. The chairman of the PSC was represented by DIG Taiwo Lakano, retired. He is the chairman of Police Matters Committee in the PSC, Police Service Commission. And there was that assurance that, look, they're going to start work. And I think the idea of a joint ad hoc committee is very important. You will recall that previously there was friction between the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force. You know, some tussle for power that even ended in the courts. I find it refreshing that, you know, both the Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police Force, under the watch of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, are collaborating, are working together, are speaking the same language. The second thing, however, that should be pointed out here is that all this emergency that the president has outlined, whether it's forest guards or it's the recruitment of more police or the recruitment of more soldiers, these things will cost money. This should not just be at the level of rhetoric, saying do this, I've given my orders. It must be cash-backed. The people that are going to be recruited, whether they are forest guards or policemen, there will be need for money for training. The president has said NYSC camps should be converted into training centers, but it goes beyond that. There must be allocation for feeding. The forest guards, for their training and retraining, they will also need money. So what I'm saying, therefore, is that the president has an obligation against this background to ensure the financial capability of all the various government agencies that have been mobilized. Now, because the police, I mean, if you don't give them money, then they will not be able to do anything. And we'll come back here in 6 months' time and say, oh, the president gave directive, but they will not manufacture the resources that they will use. So the onus is on the president to make provisions in that regard. As for the National Assembly, discussing the insecurity in the country, again, better late than never. I know some people had protested that why is it that the U.S. Congress is more interested in security in Nigeria and our own plain possum lawmakers, you know, have not been discussing. So I see that they have woken up and they are making suggestions both at the level of the House of Reps and also at the level of the Senate, because we're all in the same community. And this is the whole point, that it's a collective responsibility. And that's the point that Senator Abdul Ningi was making when he said it's not for people to go and sit in committees. The matter should be put on the table at plenary. But I see that he and some other members of the Senate, they were recommending the death penalty for kidnappers, for terrorists. Well, death penalty may be a bit controversial in terms of, you know, what the international trend is. After all, across Europe, many of the countries have banned the death penalty. But it's a reflection of how deeply, how concerned our lawmakers, either in the House of Representatives or the Senate, feel. We commend them for waking up at last and for saying that they are going to support the president, the federal government, of which they are a part, in realization of the fact that they also, in doing this, are representing the urgent concerns of their constituents. The third point was about the Southwest Governors meeting. Yeah. I think it's, the Southern Governors Forum. Two, let me say, well, I mean, this was hosted in Ogun State, and the Ogun State government should be commended for having a very beautiful event, for showing the traditional hospitality of Ogun State government and Ogun State people. And the governor, you know, even further advertised the state by taking them, the guests, to his hometown. But the main thing is about the scope of the conversation and also the fact that traditional rulers who are leaders in their communities, yes. Again, this thing about collective responsibility, yeah. Given an opportunity to contribute ideas. Finally, the appointment of ambassadors. Did you say that?
No, we didn't.
We didn't take that.
World Brief.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I thought there was something about appointment of ambassadors. No. I would have loved to comment on the 3 ambassadors that President Tinubu has now nominated.
We'll definitely discuss that when Adefemi comes in with World Brief, who was on ground in Ogun State yesterday to bring us the reports from the Southern Governors Forum's meeting in, working together with traditional leaders. And like I said earlier on, very deliberately, and using the words of the president himself in that talking tough speech or message that he put out yesterday on a state of national security emergency, saying that all hands must be on deck. So whether it be the governors, traditional leaders, community leaders, religious leaders, all hands on deck. And the president, commander-in-chief, head of state, head of government, talked tough yesterday. Now, this is the reason why we do what we do. Because if we don't have people speaking up and consistently holding government to account, we might not have seen that kind of response. Because like we mentioned, it came a bit later, but it was the kind of messaging and the kind of direction and leadership that Nigerians have been calling for in the last few days. We want to see leadership that works and not just talks, but actually walks the talk. The president hit a lot of important points, salient points in his speech, a number of which has been dissected already. But I think in addition to that, looking forward, because now what we want to address is how we can find solutions to this insecurity challenges. And it has been said repeatedly that the Nigerian government and the Nigerian security apparatus has the power to defeat insecurity if they are willing to do so. Yesterday in the Senate, they said a lot of things that we've already talked about. We saw Senator Ekpeyon there asking the question that I've been asking ever since the incidents in Kebbi State and then in Niger State. Who gave the order to withdraw the security to the military just before the bandits struck? The other senator was speaking about, we know who they are, we know where they are, we know what they want. What do they want? And then are we willing to give them what they want, or are we willing to stand up and actually defeat insecurity, bandits and terrorists once and for all? Through legislature, through executive action, through working. And let me just bring out a few points here to further the address of the president yesterday, or to just, talk about how some of the areas that we must look into. We have consistently spoken about a technological response or additional response to insecurity. We look at drones. We look at the fact that in other parts of the world, people have been able to use technology, AI, to deepen their efforts in tackling terrorism and insecurity. Yes, we look at these forests, we can use technology to help to work it out. And that's why when people talk about, they rescued the girls, nobody was picked up, no arrests were made, it's mind-boggling, to be quite frank. And these are some of the areas, or they cannot find where they are, when we have talked about, essentially the use of technology. I also believe that this is a fine moment for innovation. They say that, necessity is the mother of invention. We look at the Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy. We talk about Nigeria, one of the greatest resources we have in Nigeria as the youthful population. We have a young population who are hungry to work, who are hungry to innovate if given a conducive environment to work. When we look at technological breakthroughs around the world, it's usually driven by the young people. And we have a young population who can be put together to discover ways to find solutions to finding out where these bandits are operating from in the forest. And so this is a plea and a call to the government to invest in innovation, particularly technological innovation. To look at young people who are sitting and thinking of ways to contribute, make their own contributions, to innovate of apps, technology, to address some of the key issues that we've talked about. I was looking at it recently. Someone had developed an app to see how we can track and how we can note when people have been picked up. These are the kinds of minds that we should be promoting at this time. So we must advance the issue of technology. We looked at the NIN and the being able to track phone numbers to an identity. Where has that gotten us to? Have we been able to use it? What telephone numbers or telephone devices are these bandits using to make calls to ask for ransoms? Have we been able to identify who registered, how we can track, where we can track? These are some of the things that we can do as a nation. Further into that, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction has a role to play. We've often talked about the root cause of terrorism, or how it becomes enticing to indoctrinate and attract more people to a life of criminality. When you have poverty in the land, when you have a lack of infrastructure or infrastructural deficits in a particular region, you will find it more attractive for them to live a life of crime. So this is a wake-up call as well to the ministry to ensure that alongside these boots on the ground that the president is calling for, we are also able to address the root cause. If not, we deal with the issue, but then it keeps on, the head keeps on coming up because we have not tackled the issue on the area of poverty reduction and agricultural development. Beyond that, finally, the Ministry of Interior. We look at porous borders and how illegal arms are able to come through our borders because they are porous. Look at how terrorists along the Sahel or coming from international waters that have taken a strong stance against them come into our country as a result of porous borders. If we must address putting our boots on the ground, then we must also ensure that there's a holistic approach to ensuring that not only do we tackle terrorism and insecurity, we're able to prevent it from reoccurring again in Nigeria. Kudos. Now we are talking. This is time for us to take the nation back and actually defeat this menace that is terrorism and banditry in Nigeria.